Hello, everybody, and welcome here today to another fantastic Kerfuffle partnership show where I am absolutely ecstatic to have on PayProp and Automated Accounting. We have Bernie and James. Hello.
Hello. Hi. Good morning. You're very awake, Simon.
Yes. When it goes out, we don't know whether it'll be the afternoon, so you've just broken the fourth wall there, but don't worry. It's all right. And I did check Bernie because I am the height of politeness. It was okay to call you Bernie, so this is now the Bernie and Whaley show, as we said. So I don't know who those two were in the Muppets, but there's got to be potential for us going forwards there. James, how are you? Nice to see you.
Very good, thanks. Very good. Nice to have you. Nice to
You've got the challenge of all challenges here, as anybody in our old accounts department at Repeat used to say, as they sat there and tried to explain to me accounts multiple times. so you make the magic happen. You could be the first person, James, to make this click in my head, okay?
Well, I'll do my best. I'll do my best.
Yeah, exactly.
What I love to do.
You're not a magician. Well, just so we're very clear as well, really exciting tie-up today, and it is all about, isn't it, PayProp and Xero, the accounts package, finance made easy here. So could somebody just give us a bit of background about how this partnership first of all happened? Sort of just the time scale, what it was, when you first started talking.
Oh, wow. Actually, James started doing some work for one of our clients, didn't you, James? And yeah, and so you may not want to mention their name, but you know, they're quite a large agency, and we have phenomenal data and it's all very accurate in PayProp. It's used as a cash book. And what James did is he has been able to translate some of that for agents to use, haven't you?
Yeah, so I put in financial systems for businesses, and one of the businesses that I was putting in a system for was using PayProp at the time. I describe myself as professionally lazy, trying to find any solution possible to make my life easier and make everybody's life easier. And so I was like, okay, there must be a solution to bring this data in to Xero, which is what the system that I was putting in, and there wasn't at the time. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to make this possible. So I started developing that about a year and a half, 2 years ago, by developing the system. And then in sort of conversation with PayProp, they thought that this may be of interest to some of their other clients going forward. And so then we've been sort of in beta testing now for about a year. And then we're just sort of launched it sort of formally, sort of a soft launch end of December. Yeah, now we're live on PayProp for their clients. So yeah, it sort of came about as a need from one of the clients that I was using, and then suddenly it sort of snowballed from there.
Well, I love that innovation in a real world scenario, isn't it? That's absolutely how some of the best partnerships and developments happen. And Bernie, just from your point of view, why integrate with anyone?
Well, the thing is, it's about the data set. The data set that you have in PayProp is phenomenal, but there's so much of it. And you ask anybody in lettings, you know, it's become more and more and more complicated as time has gone on, especially in most recent years, you know, with the legislation, but also all of the client accounting. So we wanted something that actually people could use. And what James does is he translates that into very usable data for agents, you know, and for business owners to be able to translate and make sense of the information, because there's so much there.
Yeah, just what the feeling you're overwhelmed with all that, as you said.
Yeah.
That kind of data.
Yeah. Because quite often the business owner isn't necessarily always the person who would be doing the operations. So the operation person may know where to go for everything and take time to actually find it, but actually the business owner wants to really be able to future-proof their business, which they can do so, because they can get data, they can make predictions out of it, they can there's anything that you can do with that data, because it's just, yeah, it's fantastic.
Great. And James, from your point of view, why Xero? I mean, obviously I suppose I'm answering myself because it's obviously such a huge player out there, isn't it? But was that the only reason?
So I got into Xero. I like Xero as a bit of software, mainly from its cloud capabilities. So now with the sort of world that we live in now, you know, people aren't necessarily working from home, you know, in the office. So, you know, being on the cloud, you can work from anywhere. It also means that your accountant or bookkeeper can log in from anywhere in the world. And it's just ease of use. And with all the integrations that there are in there, I think there are over 900 different integrations that work with Xero. And so it seems to be the main one that's up and coming. Sage has been used predominantly in the past, but I feel that it's definitely Sage is very much for accountants, whereas Xero is very much for sort of business owners and people doing the day-to-day stuff, whereas Sage is a sort of much far more complicated bit. So if you're a sort of small business and without the full accountancy background, it's definitely the way to go.
And the crucial one, let's just get straight to the nub of it. I mean, what's in it for the agents?
Well, actually, there's so much in it for the agents. I mean, I won't name names of where I've worked, but in one large organisation, they used to have a whole team of data analysts. And actually, all of the data analysts used to spend days and days and days pulling all of the data from a variety of sources and give it to the lettings directors. And the lettings directors would need to do a presentation on it every quarter. And you'd review it every month as well. But and then assess that data. And actually, that's all done for you. So there are no data analysts needed. We have James and his integration with PayProp. and the agent can actually say, because from one agent to another, the property world is very different, from prime central to London to the Midlands to up north to Scotland, and they all have slightly different things that are really important to them. So actually what they need can quite often differ, and what James is fantastic at is actually he can actually tailor it to them, can't you, James?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And sort of over the 30 odd agents that are using it at the moment, each one sort of, it used to be sort of they present me with a new set of data, and whereas PayProp is a software that you would have thought you can't use it multiple ways, it turns out that every agent uses it slightly differently. And we've sort of built up solutions for problems as they come along. Normally, I'm very much a solutions-based person. I like a problem, and therefore I try and find a solution for it that is easy and straightforward. And that's with the data there, it's all there. And it's also about getting the data in a usable format. So a lot of what I do at the beginning, especially, is getting people to break up their data so that I can then present better data back to them.
So is that, James, then a qualitative issue there? You're literally looking at the data accuracy side of things.
It's not necessarily the data accuracy, because the way that PayProp works, it very much reconciles it. But if you can imagine that people using correct categories so that you can actually see where your income is coming from, you could put everything down to one category. But actually, if you want to actually see, say, for example, how much your CP12's revenue is bringing in, I can give you that data back, or, really down to the nitty gritty of information, and, looking at what your average income is per property. Is that going up over time? There's no point increasing the number of properties that you're managing over time if the amount of money that you're getting per property is going down. You're creating twice the amount of, doubling your workload for no extra income. And it's looking at those key metrics that aren't necessarily available, but it's also, with the integration with PayProp, I can guarantee the accuracy because it's reconciled back to a bank account. Without that reconciliation back, you can never really guarantee the accuracy.
That's really interesting. So yeah, I mean, one of the points you spoke about there is a lot of people talk about, it's a contentious issue about how do you ultimately end up pricing your services. And actually, well, without a laser focus about what it's costing you, you're just doing that, aren't you, really? So to be able to have that nuanced attention to detail over the cost, as you said, is you would like to think that as you grew your portfolio, you get an economies of scale. But by using these tools that you're providing there, is you can make sure that you are on track with that and optimizing that to the best degree.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also, I get really frustrated with multiple entry of data.
Yeah.
So you've already entered the data into one system, into PayProp. We might as well retake that without having to re-enter it into another system. With this, it's just using the data that's already there, how you've inputted it already, and I can just represent it back to you in a usable format. Do you know which landlord, how much money X landlord has bought you in last month? Most of the time people don't. you know, which landlord do I need to buy a bottle of wine for this? You know, which landlord do I need to get rid of? You know, like just because you have 20, you know, a landlord with 20 properties with you, if they're on 5% and, you know, there's 10 that are on 10%, actually the one that's on, you know, the one with 5 properties, but they're on a higher management fee, or, you know, for whatever reason, they may actually bring in more money. It's these kind of stats that really, without that info, you know, at your fingertips, it's very difficult to see.
Yeah, you're just lost in the morose of data, aren't you? Otherwise, so that's really interesting. And one of the things I asked you to talk about, one of the facts and stats that you could throw out there, you were saying that the actual accountancy process now taken for this can take 5 to 10 minutes a day with no accounts team needed for your business account. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean,
that's
when we go into businesses, we do find that, you know, they may have 5 people running their accounts, and I mean, one of the stats that Charlie from Hunters says on one of our marketing pieces of information is actually when she changed to PayProp, it saved her 70% of her time. You know, or their accounts team, which is phenomenal. But what they were left doing, of course, was that bit that James is now filling in. So actually, James has kind of taken away even further for that, and I think you're due to go with them soonish, aren't you?
I don't think there's an area of the business that can, when you make kind of enhancements like that, performance things, can have such a dramatic effect, is there? Because it literally, because you are able to process so much data so quickly and everything else there, you know, if it's in a property management area, or if it's in prospecting or other areas of efficiency, you might get a 5-10% improvement, and that's still really impressive, by the way, but nothing as dramatic as this in terms of that time saving on human hours and input.
Resource. Yeah, and it's, you know, and actually you tend to find those people who do those accounting processes are very diligent people, and they can actually be used in other areas within the business. So, you know, that's not uncommon. But from a business owner's point of view, they've got the data, it's accurate, they can get it at the touch of a button, they can do it for a very short period of time, a long period of time, they can reflect back, they can project forward. I mean, just, yeah, it's
lovely. Yeah. And look, one of the only things that I ever hear negative about PayProp is they say, well, obviously it's not the cheapest of products, but when you've got those ROI statistics there, aren't you? It truly falls into that, which some people get lazy about. It's not a cost; it's an investment, isn't it?
Absolutely, it's 100% an investment. And you know, I mean, we do actually do an analysis with the agents when our sales guys go out and they do their pitch. They actually do assess what time is being spent, and we actually break it down to each part of the business that they have to enter into, and it can be as much as 90% time saving, and 90% time saving literally, but they would be on an Excel spreadsheet type thing to do that. And some of the systems, some of the CRMs out there now do a bit of that, and you know, but still, even some of the good ones don't reduce it down massively.
No. Well, congratulations, guys. Thank you very much for taking the time today, and look forward to catching up with you over the months ahead.
All right, yeah, maybe.
Thanks a lot.
All right, okay.
We can do that now. Thank you, guys. Cheers. Bye.
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 Bye.